Hey everyone, it's Nicole Snow over at Darn Good Yarn, and you might be tuning in for Wind Down Wednesday, or maybe you're going to tune into we're going to rebrand Wind Down Wednesday, and we're going to call it the Made with Love Experiment. It was an idea that Erica and I were tossing around here. Wind Down Wednesday is cool, but we're sort of not doing these live like we used to, just to work around people's schedules and ensuring that we're delivering you great content. So we're kind of rebranding Wind Down Wednesday, calling it the Made with Love Experiment. And it's this idea where, the idea of an experiment, right, is to produce discovery and to get it really deep into discovery. And the purpose of this whole podcast or show, depending on how you're watching it, is a discovery of what it means to have it all. And as people who are creative, that can be this sort of fight with what society tells you is supposed to mean to have it all. And we're here to just share our stories and experiences. So on our newly branded kicked off show, I have Ellie Price with me. She's over in Utah. She has a really cool story, and I love her Instagram. It's like, I feel like I want to go rock climbing and then also like crochet at the same time. So it's pretty fun. I have like my calendar going up here. So this is like the messiness of having your own business and having things go off all around you. So Ellie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here with my wine.
Yeah, and yes, but we still have our wine. I mean, we still have to stay true to it, right? And everyone, I'm going to apologize in advance for my voice. I have fought a cold, and now it's just the voice is gone forever. That's going to be gone for another 2 weeks. That's generally how it goes in my world. So we have some liquid courage though to help us along. So Ellie, we wanted you to like join us and like tell your story. You work with us to design projects, right? And tell us a little bit about like your experience crocheting, but really, in this idea of like with our rebrand, to discover what it means to have it all. Like, it looks like, according to Instagram, you lead a pretty cool life, hiking up the side of mountains all the time with your husband. So I think our listeners and our viewers are going to be really interested to hear your story. So tell us a little bit about your crafting. Tell us a little bit about your life, because you really have a life going on here.
Yeah. Okay, so my crafting, I've been crocheting for a long time, although it was really in college that it became kind of like a stress reliever and a creativity outlet that I felt like would work at the age I was at, that didn't involve glue and other things. I was homeschooled until high school, so I spent a lot of time alone crafting. And so in college, that was kind of like turned into crocheting only. And then I would look at all these blogs, and as the years went by after college, I would think about like, wow, that would be super cool to share my own designs, even though I hadn't really designed anything yet. And just like kind of also part of it was like connecting with the community, like doing things like this interview, and even the Instagram I'm finding is like the biggest part of it to me is connecting with other makers and not having it be such a solo, thing. I love that part of it. So that was really interesting to me, but I wasn't really sure how to do it. And the time in my life, I was enjoying my job and meeting my husband, and we were getting married. But then after we got married, we decided to take a year-long honeymoon road trip. So we both quit our jobs and lived out of a minivan.
So what did you do before you took your year-long honeymoon?
I was in grad school and I was working in a high school. So I have a master's degree in science education, informal science education. So being an outdoor educator is kind of my goal. And so I was pursuing, jobs at the same time as taking my master's courses that would kind of put me in that position. But right when I finished, we decided it was a good time to just take a year off and travel. We lived very frugally. We bought a van for $900, put a $100 futon in the back, and then just lived out of it. I think the biggest purchase we made was this $200 cooler that was actually ideal for where we were, which was like Baja in the desert.
That's awesome.
It was pretty crazy. So other than the other biggest part of my life, other than really being creative, is the outdoors. And so climbing is a big thing, and hiking and backpacking. And so we basically just climbed and backpacked for a full year. But during that time, I had more time to crochet than ever, and I had more time, unplugged, because most of the time we just didn't have internet oftentimes. So I had more time to sort of be making up my own designs for the first time. And when I got done, I thought, wow, that was fantastic. Like, how do I keep doing this? But I also knew I had just gotten this master's and I kind of wanted to pursue my outdoor education. So we moved to Bellingham, and he got a job again, and I got a job also. And so we worked for a year. But we really missed the flexibility of the van. We really missed traveling. I love to travel. I didn't really grow up traveling that much.
Was it weird to like live with your husband in like a van? Like you guys are.
Was it weird, as I said?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't actually live together either before we got married.
Okay, so that's like trial by fire there, my friend. Like
It was. I mean, you're sort of like 3 feet away from the person 100% of the time. Like, except for when you're outside, which the weather was always great. So, because we would just leave if it was raining. Because living in a van in the rain is no fun. It was good. It was really good because we'd have a problem, and instead of, as all people do, and instead of like, I gotta go to work, like we'll talk about this later, it'd be like, well, we're just gonna sit here and talk about it, because like we're the only 2 people around, and we really gotta kind of figure this out if we're gonna like, climb together later today or like drive together. It's like, and we saw lots of family during that year. Both of my cousins actually do really similar things. They live out of vans and travel, and so they would come and meet us, and we have lots of climbing friends, so they'd come out and meet us too, and it was a blast. But the minimalism and the lack of internet and the lack of pressures was just great, especially as newly married people. It was really, really good.
Do you think like the no internet thing is it's very romantic to me. I went on a fishing trip with my husband to Montana.
Yeah.
And like we had our phones the whole way. I'm checking my email, and then like we pull onto the road, and it was like a three miles in off like the main road, and like just went dead. It was like kind of went into like the first ring of hell, and there was no more service, right? And I went like, oh, it's that kind of vacation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I didn't download any music for this. Like,
oh shoot, yeah, you got to be prepared.
yeah, no, did not have any music, and so it got like, and I was really like nervous at first, but then it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And like, I didn't miss it. It was actually one of those times where it was like, oh, this must be what it's like to be a pioneer or something. Do you like go, because I can't wait to actually get back to a place again where I really truly have no internet connections. I feel like, even when you fly, like flying used to be one of those like places where you can escape.
Yeah.
Now you just hop on your app and you have internet. But like, how often do you find yourself having to sort of go back to that place to sort of get a reset, like a mental reset?
I mean, the thing is that I probably wouldn't choose it. Like, I'm kind of addicted. I love Instagram, like I love it, but I love climbing and backpacking more. And so I am constantly putting myself in the situation where I don't have it because of the things I like to do. And so, I mean, probably multiple times a week, the whole day or the weekend, we just won't have service. So it's like a very regular part of my life, but then it's very punctuated, but then we'll come back to back into service or find Wi-Fi, or and this iteration of travel is we're in Airbnbs now, so we're not living out of a van.
Oh, you stepped your game up.
We did. I call it Airbnb life. There's a lot more showering. It's pretty great.
Not so many baby wipes, right?
Yeah. Oh, I still have a lot of baby wipes. Those are so good.
They are so good. No, it's funny because I did another interview earlier today, and one of the things that was brought up on that was, I just have to like put my phone down so I can focus on creating, and I think it's interesting, like to have 2 people in the same day sort of go to this place, like, oh, this actually enhanced my creative side of things.
Totally. And I wrote this whole blog post about how when I'm belaying, so when you're rock climbing, there's usually 2 people and one person is feeding out the rope and the other person's climbing, and you kind of switch roles. So when I'm belaying my husband, it can be oftentimes he's out of sight and out of sound, and I'm, conscious of the rope, but there's not a lot else happening. And I find, and my hands are occupied. and there's nothing else going on. And I find that that is like when I'm like, oh, that's like the next crochet pattern I'm going to make, or like, oh, that's a blog post I'm going to do. Like, it's somehow like my attention is being grabbed enough. It's kind of like driving for me. My attention's being grabbed enough by like what I'm doing, but I can't do anything else. So my mind wanders in this like really specific way. Backpacking is kind of similar too, that I find super helpful to the blogging.
So, so you want to be an educator. Describe to me like what, because I'm not super familiar, and I think it'd be interesting for our listeners to get like an understanding of, your goal in terms of education with the outdoors. What does that look like?
I mean, my end goal would be to take people with disabilities outside. That would be my pinnacle of that kind of career. So when I was working in a high school, while I was getting my master's, I was working with students with disabilities because I wanted to have more experience around that. Which, when I was reading your site and how you offer some positions and work with that nonprofit who helps people with disabilities, I thought that was really wonderful, because that's all the volunteer work I end up doing, and my passions kind of lie with helping out that community. So that would be kind of the pinnacle of what I am interested in. And so I don't know what lies in the future for me, but my position the year before when we came back to Bellingham and I worked full time was not students with disabilities, but it was students who came from families. They were the first generation college students. So they came from families who hadn't gone to college. And so I was working with a population that I was really interested in helping out too. Cool. Basically getting people outside who don't often get the same chance to get outside as other people, and as I've gotten a chance to.
What have you seen it like as being you're outside all the time, but like what do you see is the transformation from someone who might be from one of those groups, right? Even like, I don't know, like a day or a week, like what are the results that you see in them that maybe would be great for someone, again, in the spirit of trying to discover what it means to have it all? Like, what can we kind of extract from that?
Yeah. Personally, I face a lot of fears while I'm climbing. I mean, I joke that I end up crying on mountains all the time, and it's really true. It's like not like I'm just like up there like glamour shots. Like oftentimes I'm like crying.
It looks like it though, because you're going on, yeah.
I mean, oftentimes it's it's like nice, easy, fun climbs, and we're having an easier day. But a lot of times it's like I'm really tired, or I'm doing something scary, or I'm leading and it's terrifying, and then I'm crying and I'm like push past my limit. But it's one of the only places that I feel like I do push past my limits in that kind of like raw way. And so I think with students too, and especially younger people, it kind of pushes them out of their comfort zone and gives them a different perspective. So like we had students who had never been hiking before last year. There was a student who lived in kind of more the interior of Washington and had never swam in the ocean before and thought that was like kind of this like exotic, really great sounding thing, but they were really scared of the water and especially salt water. And we did a couple of field trips out, and by the time we were at the end of the program, they jumped in, and that was like really exciting, kind of like just conquering fears.
That's cool.
I think that's the biggest part I see is I mean, there's like public speaking fears, and there's like, test fears and those kinds of things, but then there's almost like this raw fear in the outdoors. And I love that it gives people like a way to apply that to other parts of their life too, when they get home.
Yeah, I think fear is a very complex, everyone's talking about, like, don't be fear-based, and like, what does that really mean, right? And it sounds to me like, and I never thought about this before until you're talking about it, but when you're actually doing these these very real life push throughs of fear, it creates this empowerment around you. Like I can sit here and say, okay, I'm fearful of my inbox, which, okay, I have some scary emails in there, right? But okay, it's email, like, let's not get carried away here, or whatever it is, like in my paper pushing life, right? But to actually physically push past, like, very, oh my God, this is like a real fear, jumping in the ocean. And I'm like, okay, so many things could go wrong. But I think that's so interesting because it can help you exercise. We talk about exercising our muscles here in different like emotional and mental spots in our life. You get that muscle strong as an entrepreneur. I think that could be very, very useful, right?
Yeah, facing fears, and then climbing is such a partner-based activity that I think that the outdoors, and especially climbing or backpacking or anytime you're, relying on somebody else, it just builds like friendships and companionships in ways that I haven't really had the chance to do elsewhere. And so I love that too, that part of it.
Do you recommend people who are maybe on the verge of married, newlyweds, or anything like that to go and live in a van with someone for a year?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think it was perfect. I loved it. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's not for everyone. It was small spaces. Probably the biggest fights we had were over food. like like if food would go bad or not. My husband like refuses to let food go bad, so he'd be like eating nearly bad food, and I'd just be like, oh my gosh. Like I don't know, you kind of just narrow it down to like this day-to-day activities and really get right to the root of it, because you can't really hide around like I had a hard day at work or like something.
Right.
It's just like you're bothering me because of this reason.
But it's
Right.
great. You probably set up a great foundation like for your marriage though, that you don't I don't want to be like you're too young to realize this, but I'm relating a little bit.
I'm pretty young. I'm in my late 20s.
Yeah. Okay. So like I remember when I was in the Air Force and my husband was still in college, but we were engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day when you had to pay by the minute with your phone, it wasn't like these unlimited minute plans.
Mm-hmm.
I would log 6,500 minutes a month. So I
Oh my
would get
gosh.
off duty and I would get my earpiece in and we would just go through the rest of our day together because we were separate, we were across the country.
Yeah.
And I tell you though, that was like the foundation of our marriage, were these like 2 years of just spending time on the phone.
Yeah.
And laundry and stuff together. So I could see it being like, this was very intimate, close experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool. Have you ever crocheted and hiked? I've seen people when I've gone
I do
hiking.
all the time. Yeah.
Have you?
Oh, like literally while I'm walking?
Yeah.
Yes. Not always hiking though. Depends on the trail. But I do, yes, I have walked across town crocheting out of my bag for sure.
So you're in Utah right now, right?
Yes.
Southern Utah, and you're in, we were talking about this, La Virgen.
La Virgen, yes. And I wish I could show you the rest of this Airbnb. I have this lovely sheet behind me, mostly to hide the craziness. It's like being in one of those curio shops or like collectible shops. Like there's like dolls and porcelain things and like pictures, and there's a 6 foot tall sarcophagus pharaoh in the living room with DVDs in it, and there's like a moose head over here, and that's crazy. Anyways, yes, it's one of our Airbnbs is in La Virgen.
Oh, interessante. I don't know if I could, it seems like a lot of dusting to do, Right?
We don't have to do it. We've been here for 1 month. So this newest travel plan has basically been spending a month in each location. My husband has a remote job. He's a software engineer, and I've been blogging. And so we wanted to have places where we had internet. So no van this time, but yes, La Virgen is very close to St. George, which people usually know more.
Yeah.
Really close to Zion National Park.
I'm like, I don't know you, but I'm so proud and happy for you because I I think it's really inspirational to see what you're doing. Like you're utilizing technology to live your version of your best life.
Yeah.
Like, it's so available to us and we don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know a little bit of my backstory, and this is about you, but I just see so many parallels for the first 10 years it was probably like 9 years of my marriage. I just moved because of my husband's job. So I lived all over California. I lived in Utah. I lived up in Alaska, and we just bounced all over the place, like maybe 6 months in each place. And I started Darn Good Yarn.
Yeah.
So I just had to like move this inventory with me, and that's what it was. And it was crazy.
That's awesome.
But it was like, I look back at my 20s and I have to smile because I go like, man, I can't believe we did that, but I'm so glad we did that. And we did it together and we built that story. And it was cool. You know, it was like our curation of what happy was. That's cool. So in terms of like what you're actually like, tell us a little bit about because I think your product mix is really interesting too. So for the makers who are listening right now, this is where you have to turn the volume up a little bit. So Ellie, you make a lot of chalk bags, which are so freaking cool.
Yeah.
But I want to like tell our listeners and our people watching, like, you know, where you're selling and where you're coming up with the designs, and feel free to show, because I know you have a couple of your designs.
I do, yeah.
Like, and I'll preface it too, like we'll put your Instagram handle up to it's Hook Yarn Carabiner, all one word, of course. That's how handles work. Oh my God, I'm so 1987 sometimes. So Hook Yarn Carabiner, but you're gonna see some like, thank you, Erica. Erica is like great. Erica's right off screen here. She's like,
Cheers, friends.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
She just fell in my glass because she sees I'm thirsty here. But you know, I'm not dissing on other people, but I love when I see things that are just so unique. I've never seen like chalk bags. I'm like, I'd love to see these honestly mass produced and sold in like an art guy, because that would be so badass. I'll help you with that if you want when we're off screen.
Yeah, so Hook Yarn Carabiner. So the carabiner part is as important to me as the hook and the yarn. So carabiners are something you use when you're climbing and you clip things with them. It was actually kind of supposed to be a pun, like hook, line, sinker, but I don't think anyone knows that.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Crochet.
Oh no, like hook, line, and sinker. Hook
Yeah.
Carabiner.
Well, hook, didn't you crochet? Hook, crochet.
Yes.
That's what I thought, but I did. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It conveys the message. Hooks, yarns, carabiners. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of my designs are like the chalk bags, and they're things like, wow, I want to either inspire people to get outside, or I want to inspire people to take these things outside and not have crocheted things be so like, you know, I'm wearing something crocheted, it can't get like dirty, or, you know, like it's made with yarn. Like, that's why I loved your, but anyways, I'll go into that later. But I love washable yarn. I think that's great. Throw it in the washing machine. So I started out thinking actually that I would pretty much only make chalk bags. And chalk bags are, for people on the podcast, are when you're climbing, your hands get sweaty, and just like a gymnast, you want chalk on your hands. So you have this little bag that hangs off your harness or your waist, and then you can fill it. So I had made these chalk bags, just made up my own patterns years ago, like a little shark and octopus and stuff. And so originally I thought, well, I'll just mostly make these chalk bags, and I have a carrot shaped one right here. So this is like the little waistband, and this is, you know, you cinch it close so you can keep your chalk inside there, but it'll open up and then you can put your hand in. And I think that they're hilarious when they're shaped like things, you know, like my
I think they're fantastic.
Like, I just think it's so funny. Yeah, so this is my carrot one.
Erica says she wants one as a purse.
And a lot of people
I agree. I think they're super cool.
A lot of people have said things like making like kids backpacks or something. I have this thing where I won't make any, or mostly won't make any children's things, because I will one day have a child, and then I feel like I'm going to explode with that. But right now I'm kind of like, I rein it in and try to do things that are not children focused. But, you know, just through starting the blog and learning new techniques, and I just started making all these other things, and I just love taking them outside. Basically, that's my goal.
They're so cute, and if anyone's listening, so the carrot one like really truly looks like a carrot, and then there's like, you sort of chained, it looked like the
carrot greens.
The carrot greens. They're awesome. What are some other ones you've made?
So I think my favorite is the octopus, which has these great curly legs coming down. And the first one I made for my mother-in-law who climbs had, you know, like 12-inch long curly legs, which made quite a heavy chalk bag. So she still climbs it all the time and gets lots of
Oh,
comments.
that's fantastic.
I made one with more like 6-inch, 5-inch long, little curly legs coming down, and I have a watermelon shaped one. I have a rainbow.
We love that one. We love that one.
Watermelon's very cute. I have a rainbow pride one that I made during Pride Month in June. And then I have the shark and then the dinosaur shaped one too. And there's I'm kind of on a fruit vegetable kick, so there's a raspberry one coming soon, and probably a strawberry. We'll see how that goes.
They're so cool, and it's like like I'm totally into scarves and hats and like this, the whole fiber community. But like these chalk bags are so freaking cute. Like it makes me want to go out and learn how to climb.
And I want people who climb.
That was it.
I want people who climb to learn how to make their own too. Like I get a lot of questions about commissions, and I would like consider it, but I don't ever do markets, and I don't ever like mass create, because to me the design and like making the 1 or 2 copies of it is really the like joy to me. And so I just kind of want to move on to the next one, and so I haven't made them for people, but I really want people to make them for themselves, and like, you know. And I've had a couple friends since I started, you know, I only started 4 or 5 months ago, you know, say like, well, I'm trying crochet out now, and like I've taken it up, and because you won't make me this chalk bag, I'm going to try to like make it myself. So
a rough friend. No, I think that's great. Like, I'm not going to make it for you. You need to learn the art of crochet, and you need to figure it out on your own. That's a friend. I'm just going to call you on that one.
You're gonna get a meditative response to it, and it's gonna make you a better person. I know it.
It's so cool, and like I'm just loving your Instagram, and like I can't wait. You guys have to like totally check out Ellie's Instagram feed. It's so cool, and like for just only doing it 4 or 5 months, like you know what the hell you're doing, and I
feel like I don't, but I appreciate that.
No, but because you can tell you're being really raw with the photos. They're not overly contrived. I think sometimes it's like, you know, I was talking about censorship in the earlier episode, and you could try to censor and like make it really perfect, but you're just kind of going, like I could tell, like even your last post, going with the flow of nature, and it winds up being more perfect, and just saying, okay, I'm going to sit down here on this, you know, on this rock and take this great photo, and cool, and we're going to roll with it. And it's like, that's all it needs to be. And I love that, because I used to remember, well, and I still deal with this, is like, okay, do we be super professional? Not in a negative, I'm not saying this in a negative way. It's like, do we try to be like everyone else on Instagram and have these very like perfect shots? Or do you just kind of like go with it? And the going with it is really what creates memorable brands that really resonate with us. Like I look at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the fact that I want to go learn how to climb, you know, that to me is that I'm having that reaction, tells me that you're doing a great job, you know, Mark.
I appreciate that. That's nice.
So you worked on a project with us. Tell us a little bit about that project, or about it.
I have it next to me. Well, so I was very excited about the t-shirt yarn, like I said, for washability. And I just like that. I think that yarn's soft and like nice to use. So I wanted to make something. Oh, I do a lot of mountain biking too. So my idea was that I wanted to make a fanny pack. And I had this idea a long time ago, but I hadn't found the right yarn yet. So then when I made this collaboration with you guys and I saw your yarn, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I wanted to make a fanny pack that was washable, and you would like not be afraid to literally like take on your mountain bike or take on your hike or whatever and like go outside. And so I have it here. So I started with a zipper at the top and did that technique where you sew around the edges and then start crocheting from the bottom. And then I just have this really simple, big, thick woven belt, and it's kind of attached by these 2 guides, and then you just pop it on. And I took it out mountain biking, been taking it out, walking around. It'll fit like your sunglasses and your wallet and a bar. I always have bars when I'm out biking. Yeah, so that was super fun to make, and super fun to have something that's like the epitome of what I feel like my brand is, which is like go outside.
I'm gonna laugh with you because I have my bars too, but I have the extreme sport of yeah, I have my organic
Yum
bars, but I have the extreme sport of running a company. No mountain biking for Nicole anymore.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, I don't. It's good and bad. You're living a great life. I think there's a lot of inspiration in, like, in terms of getting outside, and I just love what you're doing. And I think I think a lot of us, even if it means just stopping, I think it's great that you're in, like, you're able to move around. Some people, like, you have your kids in school and all this,
Mm-hmm.
but stopping and taking a walk, getting outside, and putting away the technology, I think is an important lesson. I did that last week with Anna, and we just took a little walk together. Okay, I had my phone because I was taking pictures because she's like, but it was like, I remember that, like, how many things do we do during our day now? Because technology is so much a part of it. And you're like, what did I just do today? And it's when you step outside and you can smell the air and you have sun hitting you. And that to me is like what being human's about. And there's a connection, right, with crafting. It kind of brings you back to this place of what it means to be human.
Totally.
And I think you're really starting to create this bridge and this conversation between nature and creating. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know not everyone can, travel around the Southwest and do these things that we do. I feel very grateful that both my husband and I are able to work remotely and able to do this. We own a house and we're renting it out while we're gone, so we'll come back to it and live in it when we get back. But even when I live in Bellingham, just like walking to the store instead of driving, or anything I can do that adds that outdoors part back into it.
That's a great point. I mean, just try to get outside in some way, even when it's cold, right? Because they said there's no bad weather, right? There's only bad clothes. I think
totally.
In the Northeast. Yeah.
I live in Washington. It rains a lot.
Yeah, we get crappy weather here too. It's just like, go get a good coat and some good boots and a scarf, right, that you're going to make yourself. What's one thing that people are often surprised to learn about you, aside from living in a van?
Yes.
With your husband, what's something else that people will be really surprised to learn about you?
Maybe that my undergraduate degree was in marine biology, and that was like my main focus. And in fact, I have this idea to do a series of amigurumi. I always forget how to pronounce it.
Yeah, me too.
And do kind of like intense sea animals that are like maybe not as well known as just like a fish, but like really specific, and then have like fun facts about them. Anyways, because I have some favorites, but I have this marine biology background, and that was like my passion for a long time. And I worked in the Burke Museum, which is like Washington's main natural history museum. And I was in this huge fish collection, and it was basically a fish library. And so I spent my time literally pulling fish out of jars, packaging them up, and mailing them off to researchers, and then like getting them in, taking samples, and like putting them back on the shelf. It was hilarious. I mean, it's like
that's
2 million
weird job. That's cool.
Fish in jars, and that was like my job for like 4 years. Like and last 2 years of college, and then 2 years after college was working in this fish collection, which is pretty great. And
I have to ask the really dumb question though. Like, they were dead, right?
They're pickled. They're in alcohol.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like a museum. Like, you see some things on display, but usually in the back, all of these samples. And so I would be working in like the basement level with just like, you're like moving these compactor shelves, these gigantic shelves just full of jars and jars of dead fish, and just be like me with my podcast like down there moving things around.
You have lived a very interesting life. Like, I'm like so happy and proud for you. So cool. So I know that some people really like to get some tips. So our makers out there, like, do you have any tips for crocheters or people who are designing patterns or anything like that? Because you've kind of figured out a nice little niche for yourself, even
I think probably like making the things you like seems really important. Because I love making chalk bags. I think they're so fun. They're like the right size, like they take like a day for me to make. And I have these like longer ongoing projects that are like, sweaters or like scarves. And I'm learning to love those, but they're like a little, I still have never made a blanket, and I don't know if I ever will one day. We'll see. So I think just like making what you like and then finding the people that also like that. Because I wasn't sure how many people would be interested in like chalk bags, but it turns out I get like a lot of enough personal messages from people that it kind of like keeps me going and makes me excited to make more of them. But it's like the thing that I want to make is like these chalk bags, even though it's a little bit like of a narrow target audience.
Cool.
So that part's really fun.
That's cool. This has been really interesting and I think very inspirational. Like, you know, if nothing else, I'll go out and take a couple more walks with my daughter. You know, like again, you have to find like the little things that work within, you know, your
definitely.
ecosystem. And I think this is cool. I always like to end every show with what's the one piece of advice that you've received that has been the best piece of advice for you?
Definitely consistency. I was given that advice. I reached out to some bigger bloggers right when I started and just like sent them some personal emails, and a lot of them responded, which was really nice because I know they're busy. And most people just said like, stay consistent, like continue to make things weekly or whatever schedule you're on, like keep that up and don't necessarily falter even if you're not getting like all the feedback. And like, and it takes a long time to grow. Like I find when I put things on Pinterest, like Pinterest takes like months to sort of like get this snowball effect. And so reading all that advice before I even started made me like kind of ready to just push through these like 6 months and kind of just keep going, whether or not I receive feedback. And I do receive feedback. Like I love getting little notes and comments from people and stuff. And it's like enough, you know, to kind of keep going, and it's great.
Yeah, it's just enough of a drug, right?
Yeah.
This has been a really fun interview. It was really nice to get to know you. And
It's nice to meet you.
This has been great. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments, or if you want me to do a follow-up, you have additional questions, just feel free to message us. Look, you finished your wine.
I know, just in time.
Down like a pro. Yeah, I had to refill, so I'm on glass number 2 now, so I'm nice and lit. So I had like no lunch today. This is what happens. You know, I told everyone, I'm like trying to outro here and it's not happening. I'm like, I swear, when I do these, I will eat lunch. I barely ate lunch today. I'm on an empty stomach.
Oh gosh.
Now it's a slippery slope into the end of the night. All right.
It's like I had nachos for the 3rd day in a row. Once again.
Wait until you hit 30 and that metabolism just shuts off. And it's like, you ate one nacho with one piece of cheese on it and jalapeno, and you just gained 4 pounds.
And I have to bike 30 miles probably after that. It's true.
Yeah, that you watch. All right. But this has been a lot of fun. But if anyone has comments, you want me to bring Ellie back on, we can do that. I'm sure this was tons of fun. We can do this again.
Loved it.
Just email us, info@darngoodyarn.com, or you can hit us up on any of our handles. Instagram is Darn Good Yarn. Facebook is Facebook/DGYarn. And then we'll put all of your handles and how to contact you up on our show notes here. This has been a ton of fun, so I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later.
Yeah.